I am. Hey guys, this is the Real Estate Minute Live, and we're at Lambo's here in Holland Village. So thank you, Lambo's, for letting us come in and have this chat today. So
we've got a game on the screen here, just over the camera.
We do have a game going on. There's games everywhere here. If you have not been to Lambo's at the shops at Holland Village, you need to come check it out, especially on game day.
Yeah.
Game day. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow
night?
Yeah.
This is Wednesday, isn't it? Wow.
Yes.
So tomorrow night, come check it out, or Saturday college. I don't even know which camera. We got two cameras going here. Saturday football, if you're a college fan.
That's true. Yay.
Go Badgers, go Dogs.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's not why we're here today.
Correct.
Talking about football, but we all love football. But I'm here with Elizabeth Rose. She's lender, investor, insurance. I mean, total market nerd. I always learn something when I have a chat with Elizabeth. So welcome to the Real Estate Minute.
Thanks for having me again. It's been a while since we did this.
It's been a while.
I mean, I know you do it all the time.
I do it, but it's been a while since we connected. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so what I want to talk about today, why I brought you here, is our market seems to be leveling out. I'm getting a lot of questions about leveling out, what's going on, the nasty R word, if you know what I'm talking about, recession.
Yeah.
Keeps coming up in conversation. So I just want to get your take on it. I want to talk about where you think our market is, where it's going. Of course, we want to bring in rates. Everybody, I get a question every day, what's the rate? And then I want to talk about investing, because I have some clients looking to invest in this real estate, a good investment. If so, how we're going to go about doing it.
Okay. All right. So what was the first thing you said? You said
leveling out.
Leveling out.
Yes.
So here's what I see happening, or actually let me just address first what you're probably hearing is happening, is you turn on TV,
right,
and you're watching the news, and they're talking about whichever report has just come out, whether it's new home sales, existing home sales, inventory, traffic, contracts, consumer confidence. I could go on and on.
On and on, but it's in the news every day.
Yeah. Every single time, what they're talking about, while the market, the economy is doing very well,
right?
The real estate market is slowing down, is what they say.
What does that mean, slowing down? Because I'm kind of busy.
Well, the way it's generally presented is it makes it sound like we're going in the toilet. You know, it's gotten bad. It's homes aren't selling or something like that. And that could not be further from the truth.
Now, when you're talking, so when we talk about this, we're talking about our DFW area, Texas, more around here.
But also this particular topic applies to across the country. So it doesn't matter where you are. Homes are still selling. Buyers are still, and the market is still pretty robust.
It's pretty good.
What's happening, though, is it's not running as hot or as fast as it was.
Correct.
It's still running pretty good. So just this past month, August, we got the new home sales data out for that. August home sales were up 7.1%. It was a really great number.
I know. That's in fact really good number.
It is. And what was expected was like 3.5%.
Right.
So like almost double. So, a friend of mine used to have this saying that sometimes drove me a little bit crazy, but he said, perception is reality.
Yeah.
Meaning whatever we perceive is true for us. Mm-hmm. But the real truth is the housing market is still very strong. Homes are still appreciating. That's another thing people get really upset or unglued about is like, if I buy a house, am I buying at the right time because homes aren't appreciating? It's in the wording,
right?
That the media, the media likes to sell a little sensationalism. So the truth is, homes are still appreciating. They're not appreciating as fast as they were.
Or what we were seeing 2, 3, 5 years ago.
Exactly.
Especially about like 3 years ago, people putting their house on the market compared to what they bought it 5 years previous. I mean, it was a big margin. It was big, but people were offering thousands and thousands, 20,000, 30,000 over asking.
Yeah,
we don't see that quite so much. I mean, buyers are able to get really good deals. they're able to go in. Sellers are still getting a good margin to take into their next home. So
Absolutely.
it's just not the crazy that it was, which could be better.
And if you look at Texas as a whole, not just DFW, but Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back in the early 2000s, I was like, gosh, why can't I live somewhere like California or Las Vegas where, you know, homes are appreciating like this and people are buying and selling and it's a hot, exciting market. And I'm just like in boring Texas. Homes were appreciating on average 3.5% a year after year after year after year, and had been for, you know, probably decades. And then, you know, we get this housing boom, or not boom, but this home price appreciation boom. And all of a sudden, people were getting 8%, 12% appreciation.
Yeah.
That was in large part a result of an influx of people into our state and into our communities, and we didn't have the housing available. So, which supply and demand.
Which was, the numbers were, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, maybe you know, but it was 8,000 people a day into Texas, 250 a day into DFW area. A lot in Frisco.
Right.
A lot in Frisco. And
still a lot in Frisco.
McKinney area. So I don't know what the numbers are now, but so we had a lot of building. I was actually in Plano today, and I went by a new build area, and they were building on the side of the freeway. I mean, you know, so we still have a lot of stuff going on.
We do, and there's a lot of construction. And if you think about that time period, so coming out of the financial meltdown, financial crisis, you know, the economy was very sluggish. People lost jobs, people lost equity, people lost a lot. Yeah. And then as we started to recover, so during that downturn, what happens with builders is they lose their resources because they're not building the volume.
Right.
And so
they lose their people.
They lose their people, their workers. And a lot of those people truly exited the industry.
Yeah.
The guys that were doing concrete left and went and found something else to do. You know, lumberyard, everything was changing and slowing down. So then you get this influx of people, you get this economy that starts heating back up, and builders are running like mad to catch up, and then they can't find the help. So then that drives prices up. And then you've got home people who are like, man, I've got like 20 people standing in line for my house, so let's just do this with the price, and we'll go with the highest offer. So a lot of people think of that as being sort of a fake boom, and that we're going to go bust. But the reality is there is still a huge influx of people. We see corporate America coming.
There's a lot of growth
constantly to our state because we have low tax, corporate taxes, low corporate rents. You know, it's very inexpensive for a company to do business here. So they want to. We're very attractive. And I keep reading every month somebody new's coming to town, and they're going to create so many jobs, and they're going to bring so many people with them. Yeah. So when you have that going on, you're going to have a healthy market.
We have people signing in and saying hi to us. It's my eyesight is not so great seeing that far away, but everybody like making comments and saying hi, hey. I'm glad you could tune in. So
even though we can't see what you're saying, because our eyes are so shot.
I was gonna say we're kind of two old ladies, but
nah,
that's not. We're
not. Fine.
We're young, robust. We're robust. Okay, so now I want to go into. We've kind of talked about our market. Rates are looking fabulous. I get asked every day about rates.
Rates are the lowest that they've been since October, November, and it depends on which day it is that you're asking me, but October and November of 2016 is when we saw our lowest points with interest rate. And so we're bobbing back and forth between those 2 months right now. And depending on credit score, depending on how much you're putting down, depending on what type of loan product you're getting, you know, you could see rates in the 3s or certainly in the low 4s. That's pretty darn easy. And even with a kind of a not so attractive credit score, you're still seeing rates in the 4s. So that's looking good on the interest rate environment. And what that does for buyers is that obviously makes their dollar look harder or better for them. So they're able to buy more house or have a lower payment for that house that they've already been looking for. gives them opportunity to do some other things too with their cash instead of
Absolutely.
putting it into the house to bring the payment down.
You know, I want to touch up on that, but as we were sitting here chatting, I want to kind of go backwards again just for a hot minute, because I want to talk about the houses, and they're not quite flying off the shelf, although some areas and some products are flying off the shelves. I've had some clients lose out recently on some homes that went fast. But here's what I want to say about that is from a realtor's side of it. If you have a home that still looks like 1990 and you pop it on the market, about 3 years ago, that home would have, depending on the area, we're in Holland Village, so let's say Holland Village, Flower Mound, that home would have gone, you know, probably in a weekend, I would have to say. Now, fast forward to 2019, you need to have your home looking like 2019.
Yeah. At worst case, 2015.
At worst case, 2015. You know, granted, it is even, it's still a desirable product, but you know, people now are doing the quartz and the soapstones so that's what we're seeing in a really upgraded home. But you know, if you still have Formica, you might want to think about putting a little bit of granite on there. You're going to get the money back. It'll, you know, you don't have to go in. Excuse me, you don't have to go in and do that, you know, the highest, whatever, but, you know, doing some updates to your home and having it clean, fresh is going to help have it will sell. There's people that want product.
We need houses.
We need houses.
So
but
that's good for the seller.
Someone's going to look at an updated, shinier product than, you know, than one that looks like 1990. So anyway, I want to back up and talk about that. Going into now, I want to talk about real estate as an investment because I get asked a lot lately because everybody's watching the news, and the news is making it seem like what you talked about earlier, and which is not so much the case, but we are seeing a shift. We're seeing some leveling out, and I'm starting to see, and so are some others, some possibilities for some investment properties. And what's your take on all that?
Well, I think real estate is a good investment.
Always.
You know, it's a stable investment. I don't think anybody should walk into the idea of investing in real estate and think that they're going to buy it today and sell it in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and make a ton of money on it. Unless you've got a piece of crap,
your business,
and
that's correct.
It's your business, and I would even say to that end, for people who are not in the business of fix and flip, if you want to dabble in it, I think you need to look at it as being a learning experience and maybe a little bit of a hobby, and don't expect to go out and be Warren Buffett tomorrow
and make millions. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But for the people who do that as a business, they know how to run that business. They're getting their properties in a little bit of a different fashion. They're watching different.
They go about it differently.
But just your average day Joe, happy homeowner, and they decide they want to buy a new house and keep their existing house and turn it into rental property. Or maybe not. Maybe they're actually going to go out and search for rental property. It's a good investment. Just don't expect to get rich tomorrow off of it. You know, it takes time. It's a steady eddy.
Correct.
You know, that's what it is. So
it's good having some rental property, good investments to.
And to sort of segue into that whole recession topic, I was speaking with a lady the other day. She's looking to buy, and she has major recession fears as a buyer.
They really do. I mean, it's a topic out there. Yeah.
So here's what I told her, because she wanted not just my advice, but she really was asking, what would you do? And I told her, I said, I would not let a recession stop me from buying a house as long as the housing market is stable. You have job stability, you have good income, and she's buying it as a primary residence, not as investment property. Okay. But she's still concerned.
Right.
And so here's what I told her. I said, first of all, it's pretty evenly divided, opinion-wise, of whether or not we're headed into a recession or not. I mean, you ask any economist out there, you know, go to Wall Street, turn on the news, whatever, It's evenly divided. 50%. Well, I don't know the stats, but it's about half and half. Half say, yeah, we're headed straight into one. The sky's falling tomorrow, and the other half is saying, I don't see that. So, will it happen? Will it not? We don't know.
We don't have that crystal ball.
We don't have
that crystal ball.
I haven't gotten money. I ordered it off of Amazon, but it's not here.
It hasn't arrived yet. Mine's on back order too, so I get it. Yeah.
So, but here's the other piece to that I think is kind of interesting. We're looking at this as something that could be happening in the near future. But once a recession happens, we're not going to know about it until it's in the rearview mirror.
That's for sure.
And the reason being is because it's a rear view looking indicator or market data piece of information. Is based off of GDP, gross domestic product. GDP comes out quarterly. Get to the end of a quarter, we found out what we just did the last 3 months. So we're already looking backwards. Well, the first number that comes out, and let's just pick August, because that would be September. Okay. September would be the end of the third quarter. So the end of September, we'll get a number of GDP. It's an estimate because they don't have all the data yet.
Right.
So we get the number and everybody goes, oh my God, GDP did this or did that, and it's either good or bad. And then the following month, in October, we'll get a revision to September's number. And then in November, we will get yet another revision to September's number because they're getting it tweaked, they're getting it dialed in. And so by the time you get to the next quarter reading, you're just now getting the previous quarter's numbers dialed in correctly.
We're already in a new.
We're much further down the road.
Much further.
And then for us to be in what is the true definition of a recession, we need 2 bad quarters. So now we're talking about 6 months. Well, by the time we get out of that,
we're almost a year.
Right. And between the Fed and just typical government spending and consumer spending and all that, the market could have completely swung.
Oh, for sure.
And now we are out of the recession, and they're telling us we're in a recession.
Right.
Because we're looking backwards. So by the time it's happened, it may be over.
Right.
So are we going to live with that kind of fear?
No.
You can't live your life.
I always say it's a good market. It's always a good market. It's a good market to do something.
Well, I always say you need a roof over your head. You're
That's
going to
right.
live somewhere.
You're going to put the money somewhere.
Yeah. So you can pay rent, or you can own a home. And with regards to rents, they've been going up by the tune of 5% a year for I don't know how many years, but many years now. And they're forecasted to continue to go up 5% a year. And the reason being is demand. And a lot of people don't have down payment to get into a home, or they don't have the credit scores to get in a home, or they're just gun shy of pulling the trigger. And so they're going to be renters. And then there's some people that do need to be renting, at least for a while, until they're in a better position to be a homeowner, to take that responsibility.
But there's things they can do, and you can help them with and talk to them about to get them to where they need to be. So this was great information. I appreciate it. Was there another bullet point you wanted to touch on?
I don't know. I would just say, there's a lot of people are talking about refinancing right now. They're staying put. There's no magic rule of thumb, even though there's been some old wives' tales that your interest rate has to change by X%.
Right. But that's not the case.
That's not the case. It is certainly a personal decision, and it's based on what your needs are and your goals and what you're trying to accomplish in the refinance. And then you just got to have it mapped out for you. And it's not just about rate. It's not just about your monthly payment.
Okay.
And I think you need to sit down with somebody who can truly give you a good illustration to see the differences of staying where you are.
Okay.
Refinancing into a 25-year, 20-year, 15-year, whatever it is you want to do.
Okay.
And maybe it's pulling cash out because you got to send kids to college.
Right.
Or maybe it's cashing out because your debt service is just, you can't get ahead because you're paying interest and you're drowning in interest. So there's a lot of reasons why people refinance, but the interest rate environment right now, which I do expect to hold, and I expect it to hold certainly through the end of the year. I think it's going to stay pretty stable into next year. It does move like this. It's up and down. But I do expect it to remain in this low interest rate environment. And it's so funny. I guess funny is probably the wrong word, but it's so interesting. Last year in August and September, I was given economic forecast class. And I was speaking about the forecast for 2019 and the forecast on interest rates. And if you weren't really paying attention to the market back then, or if you were and you just don't even remember what we were expecting, the Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, the National Association of Realtors, Freddie Mac, and I'm not sure who else, but those are the major players that put out their forecast. They were all forecasting that this time, third quarter of 2019, we would be certainly at 5.5% interest rate, if not 5.75.
I remember that. Yeah. Yes.
And here we are. We're low fours and maybe the threes.
That's right. So that's another great prime example. Another great prime example of we really don't know. We really don't know. Real estate is always has been a great investment tool.
Right. And so here's what I would say is, while we don't have a crystal ball, even though we would love to, from a mortgage standpoint, when we're watching the market and we're forecasting rates, or we're even talking about what rates are doing today and tomorrow and in the coming days, we're looking at the economic data that's out there, the economic data that's on the horizon, like what's coming out this week and next week. Is it a low impacting or a high impacting report? What is the consensus? Are we expecting it to come in good, hot? Is it expected to suck? And then we use that kind of information. So we're looking at a lot of historical data. We're looking at current data to forecast the future. But as a consumer, if you really want to know what's going on with the housing market, there's two things you can watch.
Okay.
The job market and inflation. So job market, people don't buy houses if they don't have jobs.
Correct.
If the job market's healthy, you can pretty much bet that the housing market is healthy. And then with regards to inflation, we have been trying so hard to create inflation for years now. And the Fed has tried every tool in their toolbox, and it's just not happening. We're still under their threshold of what they'd like to see. And for most consumers out there, you'd say, well, we don't want to see any inflation.
Right, we don't want inflation.
But inflation is actually what keeps the economy moving.
That's right. There's a positive aspect to it.
Correct. Absolutely. So inflation is the enemy of mortgage bonds, and mortgage bonds is where we get our interest rates. So as long as there's low or very moderate inflation, you can expect rates to look pretty darn attractive. Once inflation starts heating up, if it ever does, they ever find a little gimmick to make it, to turn it back on. But if it starts moving higher, then you can anticipate you're going to see higher interest rates. So those are the two things that, you can look at that every day if you wanted to and get a good idea and not have to be a market expert or a real estate agent or a mortgage person.
Right.
Just those two things. Yeah. And in DFW, our job market is just solid.
Right.
It is so solid.
It's
and wages are increasing around the U.S., which we have not seen that in so long now. It's minuscule, but really wages have not increased since the 1980s, which is why people feel so strapped. Is the increase has not kept up with inflation. Yeah, we've had inflation. It hasn't kept up, and so people feel it's harder today. But I think if you watch those two things, you'll have a good idea of what the housing market looks like.
Yeah.
Keep interest rates low, people sell houses and buy houses.
They do. There's always a need. People are always selling, buying, needing, moving. So great advice. And so if they need more information on all the stuff that you do, she does a lot. Tell everybody where they should look for you.
I'm going to try to look at both cameras. You can message me right here on Facebook. That's that. If you're watching on Facebook, obviously
that's the DM.
Yeah,
is it a DM on Facebook? Is it?
I don't know.
The IM maybe.
Yeah, I think it's the IM on Facebook. You can find me. Really, I'm on every channel. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, which that's probably my most favorite one that I do the least amount with, but it's my most favorite.
People like texting.
Yes.
Give them a number to text.
My cell number is 972-345-3268. You can email me. I'll just put the email in the comment section down here. And you can find me on every channel. Most of them I'm listed as one, like the digit one Elizabeth Rose.
Awesome.
Easy way to find me.
Well, thank you again
This is
for
always
being
fun.
here. I love having you on the Real Estate Minute. To all of y'all that tuned in, I appreciate it. Good seeing you. If you need any information on homes, you want to go see some homes, give me a call. Timi Grogan, 972-313-5987. Of course, you can find me everywhere, especially if you're around Holland Village. You'll run into.
Just come to Lambo's. We're here right now.
Come to Lambo's. I think there might be a glass of wine in our future.
I think so too. The water's about done.
The water's almost done. Okay. See you guys.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye. Yeah, that was fun. I had a couple.
Let's see, Greg, seeing who's all tuned in.
Still live. So fun. Oh, my cousin was watching. Or is. Bye, guys. I don't know. I'm twisty turning.
Well, I'm having issues with